The golden sun had barely begun to rise when Emily's father, Mr. Clarke, gently shook her awake, his voice a soft whisper in the quiet morning air. "Up, love. The train won't wait. Time to get ready." Her stomach churned with nervous energy. She had never traveled alone before, never stepped outside the cozy familiarity of Hazelton. Hazelton was all she had ever known, a handful of quaint cottages, a friendly bakery filled with the scent of fresh bread, and vast fields stretching endlessly into the horizon d'Amar. Clarke carefully packed her small suitcase, an old, faded blue one with a broken zipper that never quite closed properly. "You'll be fine," he reassured her, though his voice carried a faint tremor, betraying his own uncertainty. The tiny village station, steam curled into the crisp morning air as the train let out a sharp hiss, impatient to depart. "Your aunt's waiting for you. And remember," he started. "Don't talk to strangers," Emily finished, giving him a brave smile. Her father hugged her tight, his embrace lingering as if he wished he could hold on forever. The train lurched forward, and she watched from the window as he became smaller and smaller until he finally disappeared. The train compartment smelled of dust, ink-stained newspapers, and stale tea, a strange mix that made Emily slightly queasy. She pressed her face to the window, watching the world rush past, rolling green fields, grazing cows, and an old rusty bridge. The rhythmic clatter of the train was oddly soothing, lulling her into drowsiness. Her eyelids grew heavy, and soon she drifted into a dream where her mother's voice hummed a familiar lullaby. When she woke, the sky outside had turned pitch black, and the warm, golden fields had been replaced by a dark, unfamiliar landscape. Man sat across from her now, his presence quiet but impossible to ignore. His face was rugged, a deep scar slashing across his cheek, and his large hands looked as strong as shovels. "All right?" he asked, his voice rough but not unkind. Emily stiffened instantly. Her father's warning echoed in her mind, "Don't talk to strangers." "And Nera," she stammered, her fingers tightening around the edge of her seat. The man, Jack, frowned slightly. "We passed Nera 2 hours ago, kid." Her stomach dropped. She had slept right through her stop. She had no money, no plan, and no way back. Jack sighed, then bought her a ticket at Pelona Station, but her eyes couldn't help but land on his newspaper. The bold headline made her blood run cold: "Jack the Beast Malone, dangerous fighter on the loose." Pelona was a city of restless energy, flashing neon signs, honking cars, and narrow alleyways that seemed to stretch endlessly. Jack led her through the chaos until they reached the Boxer Hotel, its flickering sign barely clinging to life. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the low hum of murmured conversations. Two men eyed her as she stepped in, Tom, gruff with narrowed eyes, and Ben, missing several teeth but grinning easily. "Lost, are you?" Tom smirked, his gaze sharp and unreadable. Emily hesitated, her heart pounding. She didn't trust them. A glass of wine was pushed toward her, but she shook her head firmly. Drugged? Poisoned? Her mind spun with possibilities, her hands trembling slightly. Ben chuckled, then wordlessly slid a plate of hot, golden chips in front of her. Her hunger won over suspicion, and she cautiously took a bite. That night, as shadows stretched long across her tiny room, Emily scribbled a desperate note onto a torn scrap of paper. "Help. Trapped. Need Nera. Please." With her heart hammering, she tossed the note from her window, praying someone would find it. The waiter found it first, and he handed it straight to Jack. Jack read the note, his expression unreadable. "You're safe," he murmured, but Emily couldn't stop shivering. The next day, Jack took her to a place unlike anything she had ever seen, a roaring underground fight arena. Posters covered the walls, each one featuring a bold declaration: Jack the Beast versus Danny the Tiger. The crowd was alive with excitement, shouting, stomping, their energy almost electric. Tom and Ben stood among them, cheering wildly, their voices raw. "Jack's a legend," Ben bellowed. "Saved a kid from a fire once, got those scars doing it." Emily's heart clenched. Had she misjudged him? In the ring, Jack moved like a shadow, fast, fierce, calculated. Danny was strong, but Jack was relentless, dodging, countering, striking. A hard punch sent blood splattering, but Jack didn't waver. "Come on, Jack." Emily found herself screaming, fists clenched. One final blow, and Danny crumpled to the ground. The crowd erupted into cheers, chanting Jack's name. Jack grinned at Emily through his bruises, his scar twisting with his smile. For the first time since leaving home, Emily felt safe. She smiled back. At sunrise, Jack drove her through winding roads toward Nera. Aunt Margaret's cottage came into view, small and warm. Margaret opened the door, eyes wide with surprise. "Who's this?" she asked, gaze flickering over Jack's bruises. Emily straightened. "He's a hero, Auntie. He helped me." Margaret's brows furrowed as she glanced at Jack's newspaper. Her expression softened, and she pulled him into a hug. "Tea, Jack. And thank you for bringing her home." Jack hesitated, then nodded, stepping inside. As he left later, Emily hugged him tight, feeling braver. "Can I visit Pelona again?" she asked, hopeful. Jack smirked. "Any time, kid." "Cheerio, Emily." As his car disappeared down the road, she knew one thing for certain. She would never forget Jack the Beast Malone, a fighter, a savior, a friend.